right.
You're listening to the Devil Dog Talk Show.
This show contains explicit material and is recommended for ages 18 and older for mature audiences only. But hey, it's the internet.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Devil Dog Talk Show. Today, we have a great show that I'm excited to bring to you all over the globe. Today, we have Shaun, Mr. Motivation Murphy. And I'm super excited to have him on to talk about his book, Unbreakable Valor, Triumph Through the Soul of Resilience. Because not only have, the world's gone through a lot of stuff right now lately, but I personally have been going through it. So when I was, setting up the interview for Shaun, with Shaun, I should say, I was checking out his book, reading into it, and the dynamic of conversation of not just motivation, but the root of motivation, resilience, right? The ability to abound and rebound. It's just this beautiful conversation I'm excited to bring to you folks today. And again, Shaun's all the way out at Western Massachusetts, right? Yeah. So we got a lot of things to talk about today. I'm going to turn it over to Shaun. Shaun, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
Oh, man, listen, good day. Thanks for having me. I'm feeling well. It's a beautiful day. Another day to, crush it. Super excited to get started. I guess, I'll go into, for listeners and viewers, a little bit about me. I am Brooklyn dude by way of Barbados, Army vet. So we talk about resilience, right? And my story will come and play when where I've been and where I've come to. So college dropout, now college professor, someone who, never was really engaged with reading and writing, published author, best-selling author. I just got, I'm the finalist in this global award. So we're doing international impact, fatherless kid, now dope dad, 2 dope kids, someone who had no music background, but I had a dream one day to do something different. And, I just backed me, I bet on me. And, now I'm streaming, globally, thousands of listeners, impacting lives through motivation music. So in short, I've turned, trauma into testimony, pain into power. And I never let my current circumstance be it, right? I always say in life, with dope cards, with dope scenarios, and you have 2 choices. You can say this is it or there's more. And I've always chose there's more. I've always been curious, and I never settle for whatever my current circumstance was. And I encourage you, listeners and viewers, to just believe that change is possible. And I always say nothing changes if nothing changes. So, Joey, let's get started, baby.
Nice. That is so awesome to hear, man, because honestly, like I said, at the beginning of this year, it's just been trial after trial. And, you try to squirm. I wouldn't say squirm away from it, but I've had it really head on, right? Sure. Trying to get the show on track, getting a bunch of other shows on track, getting EDAX built up, all the good stuff, right? But man, if it's not that exactly what you said, the circumstances become overwhelming. So when I was reading about resiliency, right, the way you discuss resiliency, the way you turn pain into power, right? How did your book come to be? What was the starting point, that catalyst? What was the event, or was there something going on personally? We're going to talk about your family, everything, dad being a father. I love that conversation, but I want to start here at the book, right? Unbreakable Valor, right? Where did that story start from?
So a couple things, right? Now, for listeners and viewers, in life, people come across your path, and you never know how they're going to impact you. Sometimes it's small interactions that change everything. So there's a guy, oh man, what's my guy's name? Ron James. I got booked to come out to, where was I? Somewhere in Pennsylvania, Allentown, to give a talk at a school. Gave the talk, super dope, middle school, high school. After the talk, we go to have, lunch. And Ron says, Murph, listen, where's your book? Your book is your business card. And now, over the years, I've curated content. Even my drive now, I have books ready to be written. And after he told me that, Joey, let me tell you, I was on a path to get this book pushed out. Now, that was the thing that sparked it. I always know I taught college, so I've taught middle school, high school, and college. I teach a course. it was called College Success, How to Be Successful in College. So I'm dealing with high schoolers and first year, second year college students, and I noticed they lack clarity. They're unable to communicate what they want out of life. I always say I help people that stuck, struggling, or starting over, or stalling. My veterans come out the military struggling. I don't know what's next. You was just E7, E8, maybe E6, but now it's like, I've lost community. I've lost sense of who I am. What's next? And I saw this as opportunity to share a little bit about my story, the setbacks I've had, the struggles I've had, how I overcame them. And now I use it as a blueprint or a roadmap to help people who had similar scenarios. So now they can listen to my story, read my book, and sidestep those things. And empowering people, equip them with tools, strategies to go next level. I help people unearth their gifts. In the book, it talks about one of the chapters is be grounded in faith, right? Faith is it. Faith is everything. Faith is seeing the invisible, believing the impossible, and just jumping, going. You got to trust that you're able to do whatever that thing is. So the book really, I'm a guide. There's no magic here. There's no secret sauce. I went through a struggle. In order to get to the testimony, you got to go through the test. And that's what it gives us. Joey spoke about that this year. I tell people, become a storm chaser. Go through the storm, because regardless of what the goal is or the objective you're setting, you're going to hit it. You can just crawl and get there. Take you longer. It's about who you become on the way to hitting that objective, who you want to be. You know what I'm saying? Because the old you, the new you rather, is going to cost you the old you. It got to change. And this book is loaded with a lot of gems. We're talking about the 5 M's of success. That's my framework, because in life, kind of like the cell phone, our apps. We have apps, right? But the apps don't work without an operating system. iOS, Android. Your life is the same way. What's your operating system? What's your daily routines? What's your habits? You got to have an operating system that you stick to that powers you up. So for me, my 5 M's to success: mindset, motivation, money management, and massive movement, is the operating system. I call it the wake the beast way, right? We got to wake that person up. We stuck in slumber. If you want to go next level, you got to wake up. Right. And so this is what my gift to society is, this toolkit of how you go from where you are to where you want to be.
Beautiful, man. That is so, it's not just motivational, it's eye-opening, because it's simplifying a complex issue, which is human existence. Right.
check.
Right. And I love it, because with the 5 M's, you could really step into anything confidently. Apply it, that transcendent, what's the word here? We use it in the military, this ability to adapt and overcome.
Yep.
And then when we come into the space of our lives, right, transitioning into whatever it is we aspire or don't aspire to, right? Because you're both the decisions you make and the decisions you don't make, right? And when we look at it, this kind of sets us aside, again, like you said, a blueprint to go, hey, everybody's going to go through it. These are kind of the basics. Here's some great anchoring points. P.S. also, and here's my personal perspective. And that's what I really loved about it, because you go into details, of course, about the faith, right? Check. Where I want to go back to that specific chapter. Can't remember what chapter it was. Anchor yourself in faith. I literally said anchor and then faith. Right?
Chapter 9. Yeah.
Yes. Anchor yourself in faith. Right. I'm a man of extreme faith. Right. I've gone through a lot. I've seen a lot, done a lot, all the different lots you could expect. Man, that comes to faith, so much so could do. How was your that specific chapter? Right. How did you come to not just writing that chapter, but being open with faith? And being a man that stands in that faith.
I'll tell you a story. So my mom's, y'all, listeners and viewers, prayer warrior. Whew. Let me tell you, she's from Barbados. I lived both in the States and in Barbados, so they'd have me in church. For hours. I got more church than I need to for a lifetime. But a woman that had nothing, the struggle, like she was anchored in faith. She was. So this is like a lived experience. I'm watching her, sometimes we could come to a place where we struggle and we're lacking, and then we could kind of just say, you know what, screw that. What faith, what? And go a different direction. But no. She was grounded in faith. And I watched that, now for me, I don't do church and all that nowadays, but I can tell you what, I've been places, saw things, and it's because of my spiritual leadership that I'm here, so I stay anchored in faith. And it's because I watch my mom's and, her teachings, and I get to reading and just getting smart on all the things. How's the universe work? How can I get better? I'm on this journey, Joey, just self-mastery. And, think about it, the success leaves clues. I study people, podcasts, all the things. And if you take a poll of all the successful people, majority are going to talk about faith got them there. Faith got them through it. You know what I mean? There's got to be something to it, even if you're not all the way sold. So I encourage you to just, look that up some more, read my chapter, but even go do a deeper dive and just understand why are people so locked in the faith? And I think it's going to be a revelation for you. So I encourage you to go on that journey, just seeking clarity and get into a place where you are anchored in faith.
That's beautiful, man. Because when you look at just that alone, right? Faith isn't that seeing. It's not the hearing. It's not the it's that beyond thing, right? It's kind of like how we discuss about the brotherhood within the military and what it means to serve, right? You have that inner faith for the women and men to your left and right that they are going to perform dutiful, right? That's powerful, because when you get out, it is very difficult to retain that sense of obligation or perseverance or resilience, right? Where you are kind of out in your own ocean, floating around this thing. Yeah, this thing we call life, right? When you say anchoring in faith, it just resonated so well with me, because again, hearing other people discuss about circumstances or negative experiences, or I should say perceived negative experiences, right? One of the things that I always kind of live by is you kind of are, you resonated very well in your book. You're the one that determines your story, right? You can write it the way you want it. You could rewrite it. You can practice. You can get all these things down. Now, when you were in this book writing mode, right, and in the beginning, right, how did you go about not just structuring the book, but your philosophy, and then integrating that into public speaking?
So it's grounded in everybody has a story. So for me, it's easy. You can't make up the truth. You just tell it like it is. And I think if you track me, there's alignment across, what I put out. So my speaking, I talk about, the power of I fail, I grow, I win. A lot of us in society, I found, struggle with embracing failure. No one wants to fail. They're afraid. I want to do this thing, but I might not, it might not work. Well, that's okay. So I talk about that because when you embrace failure, you fail. But give an example. I fail. I try to go into music. I fail. I try to do something else in music. I fail. 3 times I fail. What just happened? I have 3 data points on what doesn't work. Now it's time to pivot. And that's what it's about, right? I fail, I grow. I've learned from this mistake, this lived experience. Now I'm changing it up. And then eventually I stack up these wins. And now you've got to where you want to be. Now with the book, the same thing, Unbreakable Valor. We talk about failure. We talk about being grounded, like using your failure, because what happens is your failure builds you. You become someone different, right? Because you've gone through this thing. And now what happens is, because you've gone through this thing that was a struggle, your confidence is stronger. You're like, damn, I overcome a lot in life. And I can do anything. Now, this takes time to get to that. But that's what it's about, right? And it's a journey. A lot of us are like this microwave society. It doesn't just happen overnight. You have to have these experiences. Anything you go through sets you up for where you're supposed to be. I look at roles in my life. Now, we just took over I'm now part owner of Worcester Majors basketball team, semi-pro basketball team. And I'm COO, I'm in charge of all the operations. And I think about, dang, all the things I've done, education, patience, strategically planning, curriculum. I led the census, managed over 2,000 people, personnel, logistics, placing. All of that is now going to be applicable to what I'm doing running this organization. So if you sit and reflect on where you've come from,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, dang, now you could appreciate where you are, even if it's not where you want to be ultimately, right? That's the journey. We have to be grounded in gratitude. And then for me, that's where I live at. I don't care. I want big problems because there's something in here. Because here's what happens. We have problems. We struggle. We going through all the things. We're like, damn, woe is me. But no, I say, self, what am I supposed to learn from this? And I hang out right there. Now I wish, again, no, what am I got something, and there's something, when you figure that out, that becomes the empowering moment. All right. That's what it's about in life. So, and I share those sentiments across when I'm speaking, in my music, in my writing, mentoring, coaching, all the things, is that common thread.
That's powerful. That's just remarkable, because when I sit back and I'm always listening, not just as the director host guy, but as also the listener, right? And I'm like, dude, if we all kind of looked at failure that way, if we all kind of looked at success that way in life and risk, I would say, and if we were to step into our paths confidently, right? It's something that resonates so well with me. It's one of those terrifying things, right? It's like kind of talking about mental health, right?
Check.
It's you're afraid to say the thing that is bothering you because you are what's the word? You're terrified, right? That's the word I always use, because it's the sensation I get when I talk about mental health, right? It's like, oh, am I going to say the wrong thing?
Right, yeah.
Am I going to end up in a padded room going, right? I don't know.
Seriously.
But that's something where I really appreciate, because when you get through it, right, and you're reflecting back and you're trying to say, hey, I'm not where I'm at, or I'm not where I want to be, but I am where I'm at, and you're confident and you're constantly being grateful, right? You're sharing that gratitude, you're speaking on that gratitude. It resonates on a level inward, right? Where you're like, hey, that negative self-talk is actually quietening down, right? That negative perspective, that impending doom is kind of shifting from, hey, maybe it's impending success, right? So when you're putting together, let's say, an educational plan, you've done a lot. I've noticed that you've been awarded a bunch of great awards from Michelle Obama. It's a great accomplishment. It's huge, right? The hemisphere that takes to get involvement in now, semi-pro basketball. When you're looking at how you transcend all these different abilities, what is it that keeps you, I want to say, balanced? What helps you stay in that balance?
It's funny. So I when I was born, I grew up, I always say this, I was born with 3 strikes. Born a black dude, born without a father, and born into poverty. So statistically, I don't make it, right? I'm living where I come from, poverty, drugs, crime. And for me, now, even though I'm outside of that world, I never forgot. And it keeps me grounded. And I'm like, dang, I remember, even to this day, I tell my kids, we'll go buy somebody's daughter, she wants sushi, maybe $100. I'm like, I remember when I had $100. My mom's had $100 to last a month. You know what I'm saying? So I stay, man, when I say I'm grounded in gratitude, it's not just a phrase I throw out there. And just, they say everyone's with 2 bad decisions away from taking a crap in a bucket, right? So that thing, I was like, I just can't go back to that life,
Exactly.
And that just pushes me, and it has a burning desire to just keep doing, to get further and further away from that ever being a possibility. But I'll tell you this, I'm grounded, Joey, in giving, man. I'm like, I tell people, anything you want, you got to give. You want money, you got to give money. You want compliments, you got to give compliments. So I stay in that giving mode. Even when they say, well, Marv, how much money you want to make? Well, I want to give away, $1 million a year. and then you can reverse engineer that math. But see, I lead with giving. There's a book I suggest to the viewers and listeners, The Go Giver. It talks about giving. There's 6 laws of stratospheric success. The last law is the law of receptivity, where you allow yourself to receive. It's gonna come back. The universe is gonna come. And you say, how does it work, right? And I learned this from I got some virtual mentors. Anything you want out of life, you got to become attractive, because you attract everything. It's your energy. You got to attract things. You attract money, but you got to get your energy in alignment with the universe. So for me, that's where I hang out at. I'm reading this book, Becoming Supernatural. I'm on a quest to see how do I use more of my mind, to help more people. And a lot of that's grounded in meditation and just sitting still. I'll share with you this. I remember this one, it really just blew my mind. I was working on a song. I had a beat, and my process is I get the beat, I'll listen to it probably for almost a month, just listening to it. Then I'll sit still and think, what story I want to tell. And I was trying to do a song on mental health, because I'm a mental first aid trainer. And I was like, if I do a song, mental first aid could pick it up and it could be the anthem. But Joey, I was sitting there, and then, I walked through the valley, his shadow, this downloaded to me, this like faith-based lyric kind of joint. And I was like, I told daughter, go get the Bible. I gotta make sure my quotes are right. It is like, I had started maybe a month prior the practice of sitting still. And just let clear my mind. Because remember, our minds are like computers. And in order to bring in more energy, you need to clear the space. So you got to hit Control-Alt-Delete. Or if you got a Mac, command. Yeah. So I clear the space from all the noise to make room to receive what the universe is going to give me. And bro, 30 days prior is when I started really doing this and practicing it. And then I was just like, this is crazy. All right. And now that song's out. It's called Psalms Wide Open. One of my favorite joints. But yeah, I said that to say those are some of the things I'm doing to stay in balance, to stay grounded. I never get beside myself, you know what I'm saying? And I always appreciate where I've come from, even though those were uncomfortable times. It was part of what built me to who I am today, if that resonates.
Yeah, it's that foundation. Yeah, that starting point.
Yep.
Now, to kind of go back into that, right? We talked about the book Unbreakable Valor, Triumph Through the Soul of Resilience.
Oh yeah.
We've talked about the book a bit. I really want to jump into a little bit more of your history, because you have these great accomplishments and these triumphs through tribulations, testimony, right? How did the story begin? Because you touched on it briefly at the beginning. You lost your father at a very young age. How did that set you up, not just for your successes, but for your experiences? And where did that take you? How did that help shape you into not only the Army veteran that you are, the #1 selling author, motivational speaker, musician, all these great things. How did the story at the beginning happen?
Yeah, so dope question. Life. So I was born, my pops, he got murdered when I was 6. So never knew him. And when he was gone, and you don't know what you don't know. But then when he was like gone, it kind of may have like hit me. And I started, acting out. I remember they tried to put me in special ed, but I had got skipped from like kindergarten to 2nd. So it didn't make sense. And they had labeled me as, problem child. And then and this is 3rd grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade, it was just, think about this, in school you get, bullied by your peers, but I was, bullied by my teachers, the principal. For whatever reason, they didn't like me. And I remember, so my ears I had protruding ears, and they would make fun of me. Teachers now, and I don't know how my moms did it. I got surgery done, cosmetic surgery. And that was worse, because now I come to school with this bandage wrapped around for like 15 weeks. I was like, oh God, I'm hating life. But I never missed a day of school, Joey. I showed up. I showed up. I have a poem that I a spoken word piece called Trauma Education. Trauma Education.
Trauma
And
education.
yeah, and it's the first time I talked about my ears and the whole bullying process like aloud. And that's one beautiful thing that I found music in this creative part of me. It allowed me to um, unpack what I've
Mm-hmm.
been carrying all these years. Um, now, I think about this, right? Because in life, when you have the experiences, let's say the negative, the impact you, trauma, you can repeat that or you can reverse it. So I went to, I fast forward, I'm, got out of the military. I go to Iraq. I'm working as a contractor. I'm making buku bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I got introduced to Teach for America, nonprofit focus on bringing professionals into low-income communities, asking them to teach for 2 years. And
Oh,
the
cool.
people I saw doing that work, I was just like, wait, I ain't never had no teacher that cares. You go to their games, you do. I was just blown away by the level of involvement like the people I knew that was in the org had for their scholars. And, historically, Teach for America recruited, Princeton, Yale, Harvard alums. And I'm thinking, I'm a college dropout, barely. I didn't even have my degree at this point, but I was committed to reverse what happened to me. I wanted to be that black male role model I didn't see in the classroom. So I was like, screw the money. I'm going for impact, not income. And I left Iraq, I just leap of faith. I wasn't even accepted to Teach for America. I resigned and I was finishing coursework and an application process at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, May comes and I get accepted to TFA, and I said, "All right, listen, I'm in." It took me to Wilmington, Delaware, and again, universe alignment. I get pulled into an all-boys middle school, and now I'm in a space where 90% of the scholars have almost like a similar lived experience. Look at life, right? So
Right.
when I think about it now, I was able to, and I'm a special ed teacher at that. And I say that because special ed's always had this negative stigma. Like for me, once they put you in special ed, it's just no coming back. And I said, you know what? I got a chance to change the narrative. Joey, I changed the narrative so much so, like I told my scholars, like you may have an IEP, you may have a disability, but that's not going to stop you from being great. We're going to unearth all your greatness, and you're going to live up to who you're supposed to be. And I remember it was cool, right? Because when I pushed in, I'm like, oh, I call them the Rock Boys. Rock Boys, we out. And some of the scholars like, Mr. Murph, I need help too. I need help too. And I made the special ed cohort like cool. And not even it's not about me. I'm just telling the story. But our scholars really, gave it that energy. I just created the atmosphere to learn without worrying about the outside people looking at you like you crazy because you have said disability.
Right.
And for me, that's one of my greatest roles in life. The impact you had there, man, because you're not just teaching scholars. Scholars take in what you give them, then they got siblings, then they got parents, then they got friends. So you essentially impacting a community from the front of the classroom. And that's how I took it. I took that mission on. It wasn't coming in, teaching, going home. No. Let me tell you a story. I had a dude named Brick. Brick was 6th grade. He was a 3rd grade reading level. And we worked with Brick. I told Brick, I said, Brick, I got you. You're going to put in that work, but I got you. After school, before school, weekends. And we had this collaborative learning environment. Like I go to a social studies teacher. Yo, Straw, what you doing to make Brick get active? Well, I give him a job. Okay, cool. Marla, what you doing? Oh, okay, cool. And we just work. Listen, Brick grew, I think, seven grade levels in 1 year.
Oh,
So
wow.
me as an educator, bro, they taught me more than I taught them because I learned this sense of possibility. Like when you believe this dude can, he will, right? And I've adopted that mindset and that philosophy into everything I've done after that. Like I believe they were, oh, this ain't possible. Oh, yeah, it's possible. It's possible. We got to figure it out. It's possible because I've seen impossible become possible. And that's one of the things I took from the classroom, man, that's helped change my life, my perspective. And, I always say middle school is like a 401k. Unless you like lock in with the scholars, you'll never see like your RR, what you poured in until like 10, 15 years later. And I've fortunately stayed in touch with some of my scholars. I remember Ryan found me the other day, maybe 2 years ago. He said, "Oh, Mr. Murph, I used to think you was a crazy old man, but I'm at summer camp and I'm leading, I'm saying the things you used to say to me." You know what I'm saying? I was like, yes.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing to hear because touching back about, the special education, the culture,
Yep.
the background where you come from, of course, the military, seeing that reflect within children or anybody, it's something that I love myself. Like it's a selfish gratification of that giving portion, like what you're saying, where it's like, geez, they're getting it, it's like they're
Yeah.
picking up what I'm putting down, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
That is such a beautiful experience. Now, to kind of hone it back into your military experience, right?
Yeah.
You served in the Army. How long did you serve for, and when did you get in?
Yeah, I did 8 years active. I got in, let me see, it's 98 September. I got to Fort Leonard, Missouri, and that's where it all began.
Nice. 1998. That is some years ago. Yeah, that's before the 9/11s, right?
Yeah.
Everybody out there, right? It changed the whole dynamic of service in such a weird way. I tell you, I have a lot of conversations with gentlemen about that. Now, when you served in the Army, what was your key role? I can't remember what the Army calls it. It's a NEC or MOS?
Yes, so my MOS, my job, when I went in, so backstory, I went to college in 96. And my mom's wanted me to go straight to the Army. She's like, "Oh, you need discipline, son." And we ain't got no money. But I had a guidance counselor, Miss Hines. She said, "Hey, Shaun, listen, I can get you into school. You're like you're a B average student. We got you." And I got into SUNY Binghamton. And man, so that going from Caribbean household on lockdown to freedom. Okay. So your boy was outside. I did 2 years. I had a 1.7 GPA. I probably had 4 credits and just a lot of student loans.
Oh,
And,
Lord.
yeah, it was crazy. So I knew, like some people say, just take a semester off, but you could get lost in the sauce with that. So I said, no, I'm going to military. I can't go home, military. And I get to Fort Leonard. My mom's just say, you need to learn something with your hands. You need to do something with your hands. So I listen. So I did heavy construction equipment repair. So mechanic, D7G bulldozers, scrapers, so on and so forth. Joey hated it. Let me tell you, that I'm a manicure nail kind of guy. Oh, that was the worst. So, and again, I'm gonna tie this in, listeners and viewers. Remember, it's about people who come in your life, some season, reason, lifetime. And I'm gonna talk about 3 people who changed the trajectory of my life. The first one was Mr. Walker. He was a civilian instructor, and I was so over it. And Mr. Walker said, I said, "Mr. Walker, I'm getting out. I'm going home." He said, "Murphy, come here. Let me tell you something." He said, "Brother, you got the sauce. You got the sauce. You just got to figure out how to play this Army game, but you got it." And I was like, really? So I think if I look back, he's like the first person I thought like looked at me and saw greatness. There's a quote. You look at a man as he is, he will only be that. But if you see him as what he could be, he'd be that and more, right? Wow. And I reflect back. I wish I could. I haven't seen Mr. Walker since then, but he's left an imprint. So I stayed. I did the job or whatever. Now I get injured working on these belly pants. I had back surgery. Had to change MOSs. I'm not gonna get out. So this is probably 3 years in, year 3. I changed to 42 Alpha. Back then it was a 75 Bravo. So I'm S1 HR personnel. Loved it. Okay. One, not that it's a cushy job because I didn't get no cushy stations. They sent me Fort Leonard, Fort Hood, Korea. I was always in like outside of Fort Leonard, the Force Comm units. So they treated us like grunts. We was out in the field humping. But I was able to help people. See, like my mindset's different. So some people like you're a paper pusher. No. If I'm processing people pay, there's somebody they got dependents home, depending on what? This pay. So I treated everything like it was mine. Everything's hot. We got to get out of here. And that's the mindset I brought to my work, and I instilled in my soldiers. You know what I'm saying? I remember one time my soldiers up at the processing building. It was two of them. And this guy, they did the paperwork. I wasn't there, but I heard the story. He said, you saw Earth troops, because there was a prototype. Like we took care of people like it was our stuff. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times that wasn't the case in the space. So I go through. I'm fortunate. I love my job, and two other fellas changed things for me. My man Buddy Lee. So Buddy Lee's my drinking buddy. That's my guy from Texas, Sweet Pea. And I think we were both E4 specialists. And Buddy Lee said one day, he said, Murph, listen, I'm about to go to the board. I'll make E5, get my promotable. I'm going to make E6. I'm going to Hawaii. And I was like, shut up. What are you talking? Let's go get a beer. Quit playing. But he was already there mentally, right? Joey, Buddy Lee did everything he said he was going to do. And I watched it and I said to myself, hey, listeners and viewers, this is not hate. And I've talked to him. I've given him his flowers. I mentioned Buddy Lee in the song. And he knows this. I said, if Buddy Lee could do it, I know I could do it. And that was the first time I started to get activated. Now, fast forward, I meet this guy, KC. He's a Marine. You know, we're not going to judge him for his choices in life, his poor life choices. But that's why my kid's godfather. That's my big bro. And let me tell you, Joe, we play ball, and that's how I met him in the gym playing ball. I don't know what it is. Actually, I got to answer one day. He just took me under the wing. I mean, the dude, he said, Murph, I got you. I'm like, all right, cool. And I remember re-enlistment was coming up, and I was like, yo, I'm about to get out, going back home, go to school. He's like, going back home, go to school. You got school free here. You ain't been doing it. Would you sit your behind down? Go re-enlist, do this, do that, go to the board. And so now, mind you, I didn't grow up with no father figure, so no one really talked to me like this before, other than the drill sergeants talking crazy. And Joey, I listened. I said, wow, this dude, because you got to think, Buddy must care. You know what I'm saying? And he's older, so he has lived experience. So I got to listen to this dude. Joey, I listened to him, paired with what I saw Buddy Lee do. And I think in 2 years, it was 2.5 years, I went from E4 to E6, maybe 3 years. Yeah. And I give those guys credit, man. When you talk about when you go into a place where you don't know no one, it's a whole new world. They tear you down to build you back up. But you find people that care. And I'm from the block, so I don't trust nobody, okay? And for you to find these brothers, that's what you said, these brothers and sisters you serve with, you meet so much people that you got to sift through the good people, and you got to appreciate them. And I encourage you, viewers and listeners, give your friends their flowers, because we wait till there's funeral night, and then we start talking about how Joey impacted my life. Why you ain't tell Joey that? You know what I'm saying? Why are you dropping flowers on his casket? Tell that man, call him every day. If I'm you, every day, text somebody on your phone. Hey, listen, 20 years ago, you don't know this, but you helped me go through blah, 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 blah. And it's the little things. I'm going to tell you a story. Teach for America. We call it Teacher Boot Camp. I'm in Philly. And remember, so there's historically recent college grads, but I'm removed from, I'm seasoned, I think I'm at 29 at this time. And I'm my mindset's different. So we at Martin Luther King High School. It's a zoo. You come in, metal detector. It's like a prison. Jeez. I don't know how they learn in there. So, but my mindset was different. I'm we're going to put positivity on this. And every day by noon, I'm transitioning to a class, and I'll see my guy. And I'm I just point at him. A small gesture. At the end of the semester, we recapping, and we talking about how we got through it, and anybody want to share anything. And the same dude gets up and he said, listen, every day I wanted to just quit. I just was sick of the experience, this or that. But Murph, I'd see him and he'd point at me. And that just gave me what I needed to keep going. And you're like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like that little thing. So in life, sometimes them small things are the big things. So I'm gonna encourage y'all to keep showing up, tell people they're great, they're important, smile, give that positive energy. But I went off track, but I say all that to say, my military experience, man, I don't get through it without some key people. You know what I'm saying? And I give them their flowers, and it's one of those transformative experiences, because now I leave the military with 8 years of dealing with all the stuff, meeting all the people, traveling the world, different cultures and community. And now I get to apply that to everything I do. You know what I'm saying? So I'll pause there, Joey.
No, that's awesome, man, because really you set the tone for how you came from where you were to how you got to where you are now. And I love it because, those stories, man, that's what I love about talking with people, right? Is like, because you can say the metaphors all day long in your head. You can try to apply, think positive. Dugga, dugga, dugga. And you're like, all right, come on, man, there ain't nothing positive right here. Well, I mean, it's so bad you can laugh at yourself. Like that's what I typically do. Right?
Yeah.
It's so bad. You just kind of laugh. And I love it because that mentality of bringing people up, right? Lifting people up, smiling, shaking hands, saying good morning. That's something in the military that a lot of people discuss when you get out. It's something that was very much the vibe, like the kids say, right? It would lift people up because guess what? The job sucks. All of the jobs suck. Okay. Jobs suck by definition. Okay. Like, all right. Work sucks. That's why they call it work. They don't call it fun, right? Like, I'm going to go fun, right? No, okay, we work hard and we have to lift each other up. And that's what I find resonating, not only your messaging, your songs, your book, right? It's this constant perspective of positive, right? It's not delusional positivity, right? That's something that's happening a lot profoundly in the community and of course in society and cultures, is this delusional positivity. Oh, you have to always be hard, or you always have to be the maximum. And I'm like, no, because sometimes we have to incorporate people, right? And this is what I love about your story about the special ed, is we have to incorporate people in where they're at, right? We have to meet them in where they're at, not where we want them to be. Right. We might not be able to lift them up if we don't give them the appropriate support. And if we don't get to the level that they're at, you don't get success stories. Like is Brick. I think Brick you mentioned, which was, your third grade reading level to, 4 or 5 grades ahead, right? Where you're like, okay, hey, what is that? Right. And in a society where we have a lot of differences, cultural differences, skin colors, races, you name it. Right. We even have different faces, believe it or not. Right, guys? If you think about it, there isn't a reason for us not to lift each other up. It's already difficult. Right. So I love that messaging where you're reaching down. You're not just reaching down, I should say. You're reaching towards the most important characters in our society, those who need the help. Right. Sure. Those who need to be lifted up, right? I found it powerful, where you mentioned about, going from a guy that really didn't have a father figure, right? To where now, hey, Lee, he set me up this way. I looked at him and I followed it. I emulated this, right? And in your book, you really hit on that with the resilience. You really hit on it with the belief, and you really hit on with the faith. That to me was very, very powerful. And so I want to kind of wrap it up here so we get a little bit more time to talk about promoting what you got going on. How do we get in touch? How do we engage? But I really just want to leave that right there with our audience. Never give up, right? That's the beautiful thing about life. It keeps going. All right. So how do we get engaged more with Mr. Motivation? How do we get the book, Unbreakable Valor? I'm gonna chop up the rest of it.
Yeah, I got you trying through the soul of resilience.
Unbreakable Valor, triumph through the soul of resilience. That's Shaun L. Murphy, Mr. Motivation himself. So how do we get more information? How do we get engaged? How do we get involved?
Yeah, no, great. So website, Mr. MISTER -motivation.com. You can tap in there, get me. I'm heavy on YouTube. I do a lot of just talk. Sometimes I talk like the college, middle school, high school. I give them nuggets, veterans, then all around general public. The Breakthrough Bunker, if you're subscribed to my newsletter, give a gem. Every Wednesday we drop one. Tomorrow's coming out. Sometimes has some music in there. It might be motivational tidbits. And then I have another, I actually do like some small snapshots that you can just digest on Spotify. But yeah, man, tap in with me. I'm IG Mr. MISTER Motivation M. The O's are zeros for zero excuses, motivation. But yeah, love it.
Nice. Amazing. So I can't appreciate, I mean, I appreciate it so much more. I can't say thank you enough for your time today discussing not only, your book, Unbreakable Valor, Triumph Through the Soul of Resilience.
Mhm.
And of course, the key chapters there. Well, for me, you read the whole book, guys, but key chapters there, anchoring in faith was one of the ones where I take a step back. Like I literally just got off the phone with one of my brothers, Bob, and I love talking to him as much as I can, right?
Mhm.
Going through what I've been going through, it's been a tremendous asset, reflecting on not just our conversations, but yourself, your accomplishments, right? Your book and the things that you kind of helped. I want to say thank you because you helped me refocus, right? We could always say, we can't pull our own head out of we can't have others pull our head out of our own butts, right? We have to pull our heads out of our own butts, right?
Mhm.
And the information that you provide in the book, the information, that we discussed today, I find it just so resonant with my current path, which has
Correct.
not been easy, right? But it's one of those where I find the gold the nuggets, like you were saying, right? I'm seeing the nuggets within the work, right? You're breaking down those big rocks into little rocks and you're going, what am I doing? Right.
Check.
With this, I think our listeners, myself, I'm going to reflect just like yourself, when you take something for a while and you listen to the music and you get your beat and you construct something that is a written art, right? I find that so valuable to share. So again, I can't thank you enough, Shaun. Any shout outs, any last words, dedications? I love
Yeah.
I was going to say dedications like the Art LeBeau show.
No, listen, shouts out to you all, man. Listeners and viewers, it's all about you. I'll leave you three quotes, three thoughts, something you think about. Surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when they see you coming. Mastery lives quietly atop a mountain of mistakes. And lastly, I said this earlier, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Shaun, for your time. Thank you for listening to the Devil Dog Talk Show. Make sure you check him out, Shaun, Mr. Motivation Murphy, the book, Unbreakable Valor, Triumph Through the Soul of Resilience. All right, let me click this thing, guys.
Internet, hello. Muassasة العرش نمثل وأنيس يأسس يأفن مكبس العرش نمثل تزياس نبأش.
Perfect. All right, so that's the wrap. I'm so glad I was able to figure out that the sound, because I'm telling you, dude, I put out 2 shows where I was just like, all right, I didn't get the intro music, and then my buddy goes, hey, how come that last show didn't have the intro music? And I was like, because I was being lazy. Just because the summer break with the kids and everything, I was like, dude, I don't want to go into the studio and sweat and
right.
I'm just like, all right, I did the shows so last season we did from, I want to say, November to about March, right? We were recording and I've been putting them out slowly. We still got 3 shows from last year to put out, or I should say last season put out, but it's just one of those things where I love doing the show where we get to talk about things like this and meet people and bring people like you to the audience, because like I'm saying, dude, my personal thing, right? It's remarkable. When I tell people about it, they go, no fucking way. Right. This is like, no fucking way. Like, what do you mean? And I go, yeah. This is what's happening. And it's always with the VA. Like, I don't know what it is about my luck. Like I love people. I love my friends. I'm in a program. It's called the Caregiver Program. My wife's been my caregiver since a suicide attempt back in 2013. And it's been one of those struggles to maintain care, right? Because I also have neurological things that I fall and severe pain, chronic, whatever, all the bad, right? And I go, and on top of it, when I go into these doctors, they just write me off because I present well. And I go, what the fuck am I supposed to look like? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to bend over and show my whole asshole? Like, I mean, like, what are we doing here, right? And I was a corpsman, so for me to be, looking at medical practitioners on the outside, I'm like, dude, I used to wring people's neck on the inside. It was very simple, right? You don't do the patient justice, you don't do them right, daga. We have ways of dealing with people. But that's something that I'm just like reading your book, and I was reading the resilience, and I'm like, okay, like fuck, okay. Like, when you talk about it, there's one thing, but when you reflect about it, and I was like, man, dude, this is a trip that we set up this show for right now. And everything worked out and everything was great because I was like, just this morning, I was just talking to my brother, Bob, and he was like, hey, dude, we haven't seen you around in a long time. I was like, I know, man. I've been doing a lot of these appointments. I'm ground down to the bit. I have agoraphobia. The whole last year was my first time driving independently at least once a week for like a few months, right? Go have coffee and donuts with my Vietnam era vets and hanging out and talking and shit. And then I had this really bad doctor's appointment where the doctor, after a severe fall, goes, well, this is nothing serious. Dugga, I have it worse than you. Then the doctor gets fired, man. And I'm like, okay. I write to Congress, 3 inquiries. I get the VAOIG report, the Joint Commission report, 15 White House complaints, all of this stuff, right? I see the secretary of the VA on a couple of my bros podcasts, right? We've talked for years, me and these guys. And I'm like, hey, can you ask him why I can't get like a primary care doctor that knows my medical history? I'm not asking for it to all be fixed, right? I'm not asking for jack shit except for my primary care physician to know what the fuck is wrong with me and what's been going on since I was medically transferred under hardship to NMCSD in 2011. That's when I was supposed to, here's the worst part, dude. And this is why I love the shows, because I get to teach people, hey, take care of yourself. Hey, take care of yourself. Because, bro, I didn't know. Okay. And if it wasn't for Miss Sonia Dugan and Miss Jenny Perez, like I would never have gotten my benefits because I didn't even know that was a thing. Right. So when I talk about VA stuff and I talk about resilience, and I talk about resources, I go, hey, education. That's what I loved about the would you say drama education?
Yeah.
That's what you said. I love that, because if it wasn't for that, dude, I'd be so upside down and lost. I went through bankruptcy, homelessness, all of it, right? And the reasons why I don't give up is because I get to meet people like yourself. I get to learn these nuggets, and I get to take it with all the people that I've met throughout this journey of podcasting for 12, 13 years. It's like I get to share that, and I get to go, hey, that was the thing I got to do today, besides thinking about negative shit. So when I say I appreciate it, dude, I mean it like so profoundly much. Thank you for everything you do, your music, your artistry, the way you put words together, of course, your book, right?
Thank
but
you,
man, that letter to Dad, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me just
I haven't like talked about that like ever really. And me and my moms are having little chats here and there, but then I was literally sitting there working on another song. I was at her house. Sometimes I don't even we don't even like talk. I'm just like to be in her presence. And then it just downloaded to me, like, damn, I should, who left you? And it just came to like this. I'm curious, but I put it in music form. And like a lot of my bro, like I had put it out because I didn't think it was like a song to release as a single. But nah, my man was like, put it out, subjective. And I got a lot of good like people hitting me like, yo, bro, because we deal with it. Let me tell you one of the people who helped me with being okay with sharing, Brene Brown, she talks about vulnerability being a superpower. She has a book, Daring Greatly. And I remember I watched her TED talk, and I was just like, yo. Oh, so it's all. So she said, if you're not in the ring with me, your face scarred and marred, and you getting beat the heck up, you can't judge me.
Yeah.
It's like, she's right. And from that moment, I had a different approach to just sharing. I got a song, My Temple, and it talks about, I'm like, I need help. And it's like those words that dudes don't historically ask. Don't say we need help.
Yeah.
My temple's all in me. I take care of myself. I look good. I stay sharp, physically fit. And it's like saying that that's what you see, but inside, that's not what's really it, So I've been able to share a lot, in my body of work. Man, it's so crazy because remember, I have no music background. Well, January, I'm going to apply to be in the I'm eligible to be in the Recording Academy. So I'll be
nice.
in the Grammys, yeah. So I'm like, yo, and so I tell people it don't matter what you never did, what you ain't studied. What do you want to do? Design your life. Just do it. And so for me, it's a walking example. I told my kids, you don't got to be smart or talented. Focus and effort. You can do anything. Daddy don't even know nothing about this, but I'm about to put in 10,000 plus hours. I'm going to study the greats. I'm going to study this, study that. I'm going to be a student of the game, and I'll be performing in the future. And about 2 years ago, my daughter came to me. I just did a show. Got off stage. She's like, Daddy, 3 years ago, you said you was going to do this. This is crazy, And Joey, you can't tell them they can't do anything. They watch me literally do anything from not knowing, So it's been a journey, man. Blessing and blessing on blessing. I just love the fact that people within the sphere of my influence get to hear this. Creativity come to life.
That's beautiful, dude. Yeah, like I feel that so much so too, because leaving something for your children to kind of build off of, right? Establishing that foundation, right? Where you're like, hey, you can, that's something that I tell my kids as often as I can and as much as I do, even dealing with my own stuff, is like, man, don't put yourself in a box. The world's going to try and put you in a box, right?
Hello.
Everybody's gonna, but don't put yourself in that box. And there's never been a moment where self-education's never been a bad thing. I've never heard any people. And well, okay, on some occurrences, I've had people tell me, you know too much for your own good. Lots of times, but it's usually with a negative interference where I'm like, hey, why aren't you running these labs and tests? Or why aren't you, with the doctors and shit? Well, you know too much for your own good. I'm like, yeah, I'm not an idiot. It's like,
hello.
But, yeah. And then when I talk to the kids, it's like, I want them to have these ambitious goals, right? My son wants to go to Caltech. My other son wants to go to Stanford. One wants to be an author. One wants to do gaming and robots. And I'm like, go for it. It's beyond me, they ask me for help with their math, and I'm like, hey, I wear chanclas, okay, because I need to count to 20. Right? I got 10 up here, I got 10 down there, and I need to see them all. My son just cracks up. But that's the beautiful thing, man. Fatherhood, it's one of those things. It pride and joy hearing that you're a dope dad. I fucking love that, because
yes, sir.
Living for your kids is something that my wife and I have really, I want to say, not strategized, but incorporated into that self-talk where I'm like, hey, this is what I'm good at. This is what I can do. This is where I believe. This is where I have faith. That's the reason why that chapter, I was like, dude, I got teared up. I got, affected. I was like, dude, this is impactful. Because to me, it's like, there's never an opportunity until there is one. And that's what I love about what you said, right? Where you're like, dude, nothing changes until it changes, right?
Yeah.
And I go, and that's the key thing, is you said it too. If there's a problem, there's a solution. There's all of these things. And if there is something, there's this thing that has to be either equal or opposite. So it's one of those where, it took you 3 years and your daughter was like, yeah, you said you were doing that and you did it. I'm like, dude, I'm ready for that next phase. I'm excited. I'm stoked. But I'm just tremendously impressed and empowered and just really motivated, honestly. Like, I think that's the cheesiest thing I could say, right? Mr. Motivation motivated me, right?
Bro, listen, I love it, man. Hey, listen, any way I could be of service, bro, you got me, hit me. I'm love to do, whatever. I'm here.
Awesome. All right then, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Like I said, this will take a little bit of time to get out, but
okay.
I'll get it there.
No problem. Yeah, just let me know when it goes, and we'll do all the promo stuff and tag and all that. Yeah.
Awesome, bro. All right, man. We'll talk later.
All right, buddy. You hit the stop recording? It's still
Yeah.
recording.
Yeah, I'm gonna put
I
that
want to make sure
extra.
it saves before I get off.
Oh, right. Yeah. So let's see.